Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel for everything Arsenal and everything football. Thanks for being here. I hope you're all doing well. And we are back for the Game Week 2 preview, a London derby, Arsenal against West Ham. And I have two guests with me. I'm going to start with Sam, the Arsenal fan. How are you, Sam?
I'm good, thanks, Glenn. Good to be here as usual. Nice to meet Tom as well. Nice new acquaintance. Lovely to be on with a West Ham fan, and let's have a good discussion. It'll be good fun.
Yeah, and of course, Tom, how are you?
Yes, I'm all right, mate. I'm a lot happier as soon as we managed to get through the Carabao Cup this week. But yeah, thanks for inviting me on. It's really nice to be here and hopefully chat some nice football.
Yeah, where can they follow you?
At Athos32 on Twitter for my personal stuff. But for the guys that I work for, it's Hammers Chat on YouTube. Do match previews, reviews, watch-alongs, daily videos, all that good stuff. So yeah, Hammers Chat. You can find us on all of our social medias and stuff.
Yeah, how about you, Sam?
Yeah, I'm doing my channel's quite small at the moment. I'm doing mostly collaborations with other guys that are bigger than me. But I've got my own channel, Sam Greenwood TV, building up very slowly at the moment. I mainly do like late evening Arsenal chats on what's been going on with Arsenal. Keep a bit more light-hearted, a bit more banter style. And then I'm joining some of the other guys, like Mr. Arsenal podcast, Blind Gooner, these other bigger guys than me. I normally jump on their shows for reviews, previews, watch-alongs and stuff like that. It's all good fun. And if you check out my channel, Sam Greenwood TV, just have a look, subscribe, will be greatly appreciated, and see how it goes.
Yeah, and there's no channel bigger than Sam Greenwood, by the way. There's no one bigger than Sam. That's just what he says, but there's no one bigger. And so let's just get straight into it. Tom, what's going on at West Ham? What's going on at West Ham?
What's not going on at West Ham? We've had player mutinies. We've had players sold. We've been told by our owners that the money from sales will be reinvested into the team, which as of yet has not happened. And obviously, sort of the bigger thing points to how the owners currently run our football club. I know I was saying to you, Glenn, before we sort of jumped on, Arsenal will be, in a similar position where what it's like with Kroenke sometimes, and his not wanting to spend. And it's the same sort of case at West Ham. Obviously, you'll hear West Ham fans talking about the fact that we sold our ground, we moved to a stadium that we rent. We haven't invested in the team. We were promised Champions League football. We were challenged for the Premier League, and it's been a complete mess really for the last, I would say, 3 or 4 years. Their ownership's never been brilliant, but they're really starting to run us through the mud, exactly like they were when they were previous owners of Birmingham City. So it's just, whichever way that you spin it, they are probably two of the worst owners currently in football. I'd put Ashley up there as well, but I think for some reason, based on this summer window, they seem to have surpassed that. So yeah, I think finally we're sort of starting to see the backlash with the fans. The fans are ready for them guys to step out and lead the club. There's obviously been massive talk of that this week, but it's a concerning time to be a West Ham fan, because I think with the way that our season starts and the fixtures that we have, we could be looking to be bottom by the end of November, and it's a very toxic environment currently at West Ham.
Is it just an ownership problem? Of course, you're right about us. We go through a lot of ownership problems. Some will agree, but is it just an ownership problem? Is it the players? Is it the captain? Is it the is it the stadium that you moved to? What is it exactly?
To be honest with you, it's exactly like I say. It's a mixture of all of those things. It's unfortunately they have invested in the team. They've invested some transfer windows more than others. Obviously, we brought the likes of Felipe Anderson and Sebastian Haller in for big money, and whereas they did hit the ground running at the time, it seemed to slow down considerably. Whether it be the manager not playing the style of football that suits those type of players, or just players in general that aren't good enough to play for us at the minute. I think for the last sort of decade, we've hardly spent any money on our fullbacks, and this has been such a topic of discussion at West Ham, is that most of our goals we concede down either flank, and it's sort of, we as fans could see the glaring issues, but the manager seems to want to continually put square peg in round holes kind of stuff. Pablo Fornals, who plays for us, he's played out on the left-hand side where he's just not at all usable. He doesn't have the pace, the size to get in behind. He's much more effective when he plays in the middle. There's glaring issues, the issues with the stadium, the fans when they came onto the pitch before, and the what was it? The get it out, Tom, the marches against the owners and stuff like that. It's just, I don't know what it is, but like I said, there's just this toxic atmosphere running through the club, and it's spread to the players, and you can see that by the way they perform on the pitch. And we saw that definitely against Newcastle in our first game of the season. So yeah, it really is worrying times to be a West Ham fan.
Just before I bring Sam in, you did have a protest against Burnley. I think it was in 2018. There's nothing that has ever changed since.
Well, we in 2018 we basically said to the message to the board was, look, if you're going to be here, you've promised us all these things. You've promised us next level football, and the thing is, as West Ham fans, we don't expect that. We just expect a team to compete for 90 minutes each week. We want to see a bit of flair. The West Ham players we love, as fans, we love the likes of the Di Canios, the Payets, players like that will give the crowd a show. We'll bring some youth players in along the way. You've seen what our youth academies produced before. So it's we don't feel like we asked for a lot, but we were given all these empty promises, and fair enough, that summer they backed the team, I guess you could say, by the likes of spending money on Anderson and Yarmolenko, Allaire, these kind of players. But I think them in their mind, they're getting ready to sell, and there's just been no investment really, and they've gone back on that. So I think the Burnley, although it all culminated in that one game where it all came out on the pitch, they did then spend, but now it just, I don't know, there's a different atmosphere this time with the protest. It feels like they're gearing up and getting ready to sell, and they're not, they don't feel like investing again, unfortunately.
Yeah, Sam, it looks like what's going on at West Ham is the same case at Arsenal, moving stadiums to become a big team, from Upton Park to Olympic Stadium, from Highbury to Emirates. Owners who don't want to spend. Are we going through the same thing, or is our situation kind of better or worse?
I think we're through the worst part of our situation, to be honest. I mean, we've just had the owners, KSE. They've just recently restructured the loan deal for the stadium, which apparently has made the repayments a lot less interest as well, because the previous structured agreement we had to repay the stadium was based on the old agreement, was on a very high interest rate. So I think they've done a lot there to save the money where they can, and Arsenal, until the last couple of seasons, really, we've had our issues off the pitch as well. I mean, on the pitch as well, where we haven't been performing very well, not hitting our targets, which has been obvious for everyone. We haven't really been generating the money that we should be generating, and now, of course, it's a lot worse without fans and everything and match day revenue. But yeah, I mean, we've also had this issue with the fans. I'm sorry, KSE. The fans are not enjoying having KSE as owners, are we? Because they're not putting in any of their own money into the club. They've made that very clear from day one, that they're not doing that. They're running a self-sustaining model, very typical American business model, and it's been clear for all to see. Is Arsenal the only club in the Premier League at the moment where the owners are not quite sure about West Ham with exactly what's been going on there, but from what I was reading, Arsenal's still the only club in the Premier League where the owners haven't put any money in during their tenure as owners. So that's a bit worrying when you get into situations like now, when we really should be pushing on in the transfer market, and the money is there. Obviously, the owners have a lot of money, but they just don't want to put anything in, which is a bit troubling. They want to keep it to a safe, self-sustaining model, and as we see, it brings with it some difficult things to work with, right? I mean, you see, we've had a lot of troubles the last few seasons with our transfers and everything, how we have to structure them and everything, and it's the way it is for us. I just don't think we're at that level where West Ham is, where they're struggling a lot more. but we're still struggling in the way we are, as we definitely need more money put in, and it's not coming, is it?
I think that's key, actually, what you said there about sort of going forward in the transfer market. Our issue is that surrounding our club, we've got several, I would say, in the nose or ITKs on Twitter that report our news. Ex-West Ham employee being the biggest, who is very reliable. But unfortunately, we have a website that is directly linked to the club, which is Claret and Hugh. And they have a direct line to David Sullivan and David Gold. And they sometimes try to put out, say, like, propaganda in favour of the board. And the one thing that they said to the fans before the window started was that the market is flat. Don't expect any clubs to be signing players. We won't be able to get value for money. And now we're sort of a month away from the window ending, and we've nearly topped £1 billion spend in the Premier League. We've, players we've seen. I think the best one we had was Newcastle. It's not about spending big amounts of money, but Jamal Lewis, for me, when he signed for those guys for 12 million, is for us a position that needed upgrading and would instantly improve our left back position. And that's the problem, is that we've constantly heard from certain people connected to the club that, there's no money, we can't do good business and that. And we look around and every team seems to be doing something. Even you guys, like picking Willian up on a free, signing a new centre back. Just identify the positions you need and spend wisely, and it actually improved the team, believe it or not. So that's one of the biggest issues I think for us this summer has been the transfer policy.
I was just going to ask you how is your stadium deal sort of, how's it set up? Because it's not your stadium, is it? I mean, it's no. So what do you pay, like a huge rent fee or something like that, or leasing fee, or how is it set up?
It's £3 million rent or something along those lines a year.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
And it's we don't have to pay for the security. We don't have to pay for the match day sort of experience with the the beers or the food and all sorts of stuff like that. We are literally just tents in the stadium.
Right.
And
but in terms of your financials, then is that a lot of money you guys are paying for that, you feel, or is it sort of in line with what is it okay what you're spending there to rent?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think it's one of the best rented deals of stadiums I think you could ever have. The big thing I think for people, for us as fans, was the board were going to try and wait as long as possible before purchasing the stadium off of the LLDC, and I think that is a deal breaker for a lot of potential investors or buyers that want a share of the club. Is that if they're going to try to take us over, can they buy the stadium outright? And I think that the LLDC would be happy to do that, but obviously they would command a high fee for it. So I think there would be a lot, if we actually were able to buy the stadium and get our hands on the stadium, then we could really try to develop it and do what a few other Olympic stadiums have done around the world, specifically I think in Germany, where they've really brought the seats closer. And they've squared off each end of the goals, I think, this summer, and it's done a little something. But until we actually physically can own that stadium outright, there's really not a lot that we can do in there, unfortunately.
Yeah, because I suppose it limits the owners really with what they can do as well. Because if you don't own a stadium, you don't really have assets.
Yeah, exactly.
To loan against and things like that. The only assets you have are players, really. And
exactly.
I suppose at the moment, you guys, I don't know, how do you feel? Do you guys feel like you're a bit worried about losing Declan Rice?
I think that's the worst thing, is everybody's twitching and counting down the days to the end of the window to see if we can keep hold of him. But the longer it goes on and the more that we're sort of stuck in the mud, I think it's only looking more likely that Chelsea are going to.
Are your owners in a desperate situation where they need money, or are they okay? They don't really need the money.
Well, the thing is that both Sullivan and Gold, I think, in terms of net worth, are both billionaires. Karen Brady's obviously the sort of the mouthpiece, as we would call her, for those two. But they're in no way, shape, or form are they in any trouble financially. And this is the issue, is that they've taken. I think we're the only club that's taken more than sort of like 20 to 30 million pound in loans out of the club. It's just the business that's done with those two guys. It's never been above board. It's always been very shady, and we've had to wait until the taxes are released and we can see everything that's sort of gone on at the club. But they're just, I think, a lot of the way that they deal with things is just they're very below board, and it irks a lot of West Ham fans because it feels like they're profiting more off of us, than we are out of the football team right now.
Yeah, it seems like they're using the club as as basically some kind of as a cash cow, basically to get money out and generate money without putting anything in. That's terrible. That's terrible. I can understand the frustration behind that. You know, I mean, with our situation with the Cronkies with KSE is just the fact that they're just not bothering to put in any money. I mean, the club is sort of doing okay by itself, but where we would really need them to generate a bit of money to push in for a big transfer or something like that, they just don't do it. You know, they don't put the money in. That's our issue with them. But we're not at that level where they're actually taking money out and basically using it as a cash cow. We're not quite at that level. So that's a shame, really, isn't it?
I think West Ham, Arsenal, and Newcastle are the only teams who keep on talking about stadiums, owners, and not actually the football. I know you say you understand that, Sam, but we've been in a good place right now. You're in a good place. The mood is good. Aubameyang just signed a contract. How happy were you when you heard about that?
Of course, I was over the moon, right? I mean, it's for me, it's definitely the most important signing we've made in a long time, to be honest. To manage to manage to keep him at the club now, when of course our recent history has been terrible, right? Of keeping our most important players. That's what's been annoying us on the sports side of everything on the field with us Arsenal fans. The last 8 to 10 years, hasn't it? Has been losing our best players. You know, in Fabregas, Nasri, Robin van Persie, Sanchez. All our best players, right when they get to that key point where they need that crucial contract, when they get to close to their late 20s, early 30s, all of a sudden they go. You know, that's it. We can't hold them because they want to move on, because they don't feel that the ambition is there to win anything that previously, and also to go on to somewhere where they can make more money. You know, and for us fans, it's been frustrating for years, but now I think, with this Aubameyang deal, I think we've actually now turned a corner. I think it shows now that we are finally moving in the right direction after several years of not moving in the right direction. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and in terms of also of captains, Hendrick, Kolo Toure,
all our captains have gone as well, right? You know, But I would argue. I mean, I would argue that Vieira, and Henri, really, I would say they were both just over the top of the hill when we let them go. I would argue, because you saw Vieira the next season when he was at Juventus, he wasn't great. You know, you got to be honest, he wasn't brilliant. And when he came to Highbury, when we played Juventus in the Champions League, when we made the final run, he wasn't great at Highbury. You know, he didn't have a good game. So. We can make that argument as well. Same with Henri when we sold him on to Barcelona. I think his best days were just behind him. Now, of course, he was still good, still world class. Don't get me wrong. We'd have loved to have kept him, but he was just going over the dip as he was going to Barcelona. So but losing Robin van Persie to Manchester United, where he just went straight to United and won the league. That was painful. That was really painful.
And for Aubameyang staying, do you think Arteta has been very crucial in that?
Yes, I think it's been very, very crucial. I think it's probably been the most important part of Aubameyang staying, because I think Arteta has had some words with him, had some meetings with him, and I think that combined with what he's seeing is actually happening as well, with how Arteta is restructuring everything, sort of bringing in this new way of doing everything. I think Aubameyang is buying into the ambition. He sees the ambition there, and he wants to be part of it. I think he'd rather stay at Arsenal, where he's comfortable. He fits into the team now. He's in form. I think you'd rather do that than move on somewhere else and maybe have to start again. You know, I think that's part of it, and also I think that he has I know it sounds corny, but I think he really does have a good connection with our fans. He enjoys being at Arsenal with the fans. I know footballers at the end of the day, they're about the money and the prestige and everything. The fans aren't that important anymore, I know, but he does seem to have a good rapport with our fans. But at the end of the day, I think Arteta has been a crucial key figure in keeping him, definitely.
I think from the outside looking in, it's... Sorry, Glenn.
No problem.
I think from an outside sort of perspective looking in, I think it's the best signing, if you will, that you made was getting him in as manager. Because for me, looking at what the mould that he clearly wanted to play with under Pep Guardiola and having that tutorship, he's already got a grip to the language, which Emery didn't have to start off with. He knows the style he wants to play. He knows the type of football, the players that he wants to bring in. And I think he understands the Premier League, which is one of the main benefits of having a manager like that there. And I think for him to hit the ground running like he has, obviously 2 trophies, the signings that he made, which I know that Arsenal fans have wanted a new centre-half for ages and players that can complement the likes of Aubameyang going forward. And I think he's really, really started to implement such a good style on Arsenal, which hopefully, and I mean, West Ham fans, we always say, we want us to play, West Ham football, which is the stylishy stuff. But I think Arsenal are just the same. I think for you guys, unfortunately, it's been so long where after Wenger left that you didn't get back to that era of playing with the likes of the Omris and the Vieiras, that slick, sharp passing move, wanting to pass it into the goal. But I think Arteta is sort of the closest thing in that mould to what Wenger can get you back to. And I think for Arsenal, especially the signings that they've made this summer, I think he is the main man to bring sort of Arsenal's relevancy, I think, back into the Premier League again.
Exactly, and I think you make some really good points there, and I think it's he's clearly shown with the months he's been at the club now, since the new year really, and now since the restart and everything. I mean, he's shown in actually winning the FA Cup, beating some big teams along the way, quite comprehensively. That you could see that there's something here happening. There's something going in the right direction. And I think the players are buying into that, and the positivity is coming back. The confidence is coming back, and I think that's an important part of Aubameyang staying, definitely.
Yeah, Tom, Cookie in the chat says West Ham are the biggest underachievers, especially last season. Do you agree?
I think it is, and it's not like I'm trying to look at it through sort of claret and blue tinted specs here. It's I think and I said this before we came on to you, when you look on paper at some of the players that we have, and you've seen what they've done abroad in other countries, and I'm not necessarily saying that should translate into the Premier League, but these are really exciting players that should get up and play for the money that they're on every week. As you spoke about the prestige there, you'd have expected them to have a bigger impact, but for whatever reason, they've just not gelled properly. And I think it's frustrating because the teams that are in and around us, I would say, especially the year after we left Upton Park, where we were in Europe, we had Payet, we had some really good, talented players. That was the time to build on the team, try to strengthen it and whatnot. Unfortunately, the Payet saga didn't help, but just from then on, it sort of seemed that whoever we have brought in, whether it be a new manager with Pellegrini to try and improve the tactics or whatnot, it's just, unfortunately, it's never really worked out. So yeah, I would say that we've massively underachieved with sort of the players that we have, and especially
I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off at the end there, Tom. Sorry, I didn't mean that. But I mean, for me, for West Ham's always been a team that I think is underachieved, because you guys have had some great teams in the past, and you're still a big club, and and you guys have an incredible. I don't know if it's still the same, because I don't follow West Ham closely, of course, like you do. But traditionally, West Ham have always had an amazing youth academy, right? Yeah. And you guys bring through some amazing talent. Yeah. And you would think that if you could maybe harness that talent, keep them as more of a unit within the club, you could really build around that, couldn't you?
Well, that's the biggest issue for us, and I did a video about this last week, and it's been a big topic of discussion. For me, whenever players walk out, if you look on the claret strip, whether it be at Upton Park or now at London Stadium, it says as you walk out, the Academy of Football. And I think us as fans, the biggest, it almost feels like a kick in the teeth that these players, they go out on loan, or they have their chance in the first team, they try to push through, they succeed, and they're either sold like Diangana was this week, or they're just sort of cast aside and then we never hear from them again. We've had, it's frustrating because the last couple of years they've tried to implement a system where they try and poach youngsters from other academies, bring them to ours. And I think of the likes of the Nathan Hollands, the Domingos Quina, who ended up at Wolves, Odebeko from Man United recently. And these guys clearly are talented enough. They don't get the exposure. And you really think that they could help build a spine to the team. Because there's something about the youth academy products when they come through, they know what the club means. They know what the fans expect. And us as fans, because of how our youth systems have been in the past, we know to give them the time of day and to give them the, because if Felipe Anderson went out, made a mistake, it's like, oh, he cost 40 million. Why aren't you performing? But if it's a youth player, it's like, don't worry, mate. We'll get back up and try. And I think that's the key thing of recent times. Declan Rice, I remember the second or third game he played, even as much as a year or so ago, we were playing at Liverpool, opening game of the season, 3-0 down at half time, and Manuel Pellegrini hooked him. And Reece Oxford, when he had that amazing first game for us, against you guys, the next game or so he played, I think it was against Everton, and Romelu Lukaku bullied him. And we didn't see him in a West Ham shirt again. He was hooked at half time and he didn't go back and try to improve on that. Whereas Declan Rice saw that as a sign to say, right, I want to take this and improve and then come back. And now we've seen him go up a level because of that. So, yeah, it's frustrating. And I think most West Ham fans feel like it's a massive kick in the teeth to have such good quality youth players. And you don't bring, you still sort of come out as the Academy of Football when it ultimately at the minute.
Because it's a shame because you become like a farmer's club, right? Everyone sort of playing.
Well, that's it. We've always been known as a selling club. That's unfortunately the tag that's gone with West Ham, is that we are a selling club. You only have to look back as far as the likes of the, Coles, Lampards, Rios, that golden generation of players, Carrick that came through, and now unfortunately it looks like Declan Rice is another one that's going to sort of follow suit and potentially go on to do massive things.
Yeah, because like you say, if you look at those players you guys have brought through the last 10, 15 odd years, I mean, you could have had if you'd have kept them, you could have had a good team there, couldn't you? I mean, you really could.
I think it frustrates a lot of fans when they, build those teams online and it's like, oh, what if West Ham had kept all their stars and stuff? And it's just, it's unfortunate at the end of the day when you sort of see the names that what could have been at the club.
I think it's the same for many clubs as well, though. I mean, we've had some youth that we've let go as well.
Yeah.
Not quite at the level of you guys, because we haven't. I don't think youth at Arsenal comes through quite as much as it does at West Ham. I think you guys, in my opinion, are better at bringing through the youth. You guys will have more youth players in your first team squad that come through. So yeah, that's something you guys do really well. But there just seems to be some kind of disconnect between when you bring them through and keeping them. It's like that. It's like, and I'm just wondering, is it down to the ownership, or do you think it's down to the manager, that the manager wants to, instead of waiting? Because that's the problem we have now in modern football, where you can't really wait for someone to develop now. You have to get the results here and now. It's all about the next result, getting the 3 points.
Yeah.
So when you can't be patient, right, you can't really develop a player, can you?
No, of course. And I think this is again another one of the issues, is that it was supposedly that the board had gone above David Moyes' head for the sale of Diangana to sort of raise transfer funds. And look, we're not sort of saying by any stretch of imagination that Grady Diangana would have turned into one of the best midfielders in England or attacking midfield. We don't know that yet, but it was the promise that he showed last season at West Brom.
Yeah.
He changed over from the right side to the left-hand side. We've had an issue with Felipe Anderson down that left-hand side now for a year because he's not been hitting form. And it seemed like a natural shoe-in to start Diangana, but that was never the case. And the owners went apparently above the head of David Moyes to sell him. And you're kind of just left wondering as fans, like, why? This kid he's been at West Ham since he was 10. He loves the club. All he's wanted to do is break into the first team. He finally gets that chance, and he's sold straight away. And we hold no ill will to against Grady or anything like that. We hope he absolutely smashes it for West Brom. But again, it goes to the issue of the owners just using the youth team players to cash out because they didn't have to pay any money for them in the first place.
That's how you guys seem to be generating money.
And
that's probably where they're looking at it. Yeah.
And that's what I think fans are so worried about Declan Rice is because they didn't have to pay anything for him, and yet they could make probably the biggest deal of their lives on selling him.
Could be a record set. It could be. What is currently your record transfer sale? What is your record at the moment for selling one player?
Do you know, that's a good question. I think Rio was 20 odd. I think Payet was 26.
Right. Because Declan Rice is going to smash that, isn't he? I think. He's
going to smash that and some. So, and obviously being English as well. And you know how we in England love to hype our players up. If they are any bit good, then he'll be a big price one day.
Well, he's got a good reputation, hasn't he? I mean, he seems to be very, highly admired by a lot of teams. So I think you guys could probably get a good fee for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, Glenn's back. Shall we let him take the reins?
Sorry about that. The lights actually went out during a stream. Clearly, one of the board members, either from West Ham or Arsenal, operating the lights over here. They don't want us to talk about that. It's not the greatest that Wi-Fi actually uses electricity. So, I also wanted to ask about Arnautovic, Tom. How much was Arnautovic when you sold?
I don't even know.
More than 20 million?
I think it was just under 20 million. My friend Charlie from Hammers Chat, he's a top lad in the chat, who's just said that Payet's record sale for 25 million. So, I think Arnautovic was less than 20. I want to say somewhere between 16 to 18 million, I think.
Right.
There's five players I wanted to talk about. One of them is Cresswell. What happened to Cresswell? I'm actually seeing people crying for West Ham for Cresswell to be dropped.
I honestly, if you could tell me what happened to him, I'd love to know, because I think all us West Ham fans are confused as to what happened to him. He was so good the first couple of seasons that he came to us from Ipswich. There was a lot of talk of him getting in the England side, and he did. He was scoring free kicks. He was bombing up and down the left-hand side, getting involved. He's got a wand of a left foot. But he had an injury in pre-season a couple of years back now when we played over in Austria or Germany or something, and he separated the knee ligaments, I think, in his knee. It wasn't a serious injury, but it seems like ever since that game, his confidence has just evaporated. It's just not there anymore, and he's just not been the same player. And it's such a shame because, like I said, one time he was touted to go into Liverpool before sort of Liverpool signed the likes of the Salahs and stuff like that. There was a big price tag above his head, and he looked really promising, but he's not fast enough. He doesn't track his players. He doesn't track the runs. He doesn't get down. If he gets down the flank to try and cross the ball in, he doesn't get back if the team are counter-attacking. It's just, it's a shame because he was once, very highly touted by us, and he did do some amazing things those first couple of years. But unfortunately for him, it's sort of after that injury, it's the wheels have come off and he's just completely dipped in form.
So would you drop him totally?
No, because our other left back is crap as well. So it's kind of the lesser of two evils. Arthur Masuaku.
You could have Kolasinac, but he's also not good enough.
Yeah, can you take Kolasinac off of us?
This is the problem. I see that we've been linked with him in the last couple of days, and I'm like, I don't want it.
The next three players are those ones: Felipe Anderson, Lanzini, and Snodgrass.
So for Snodgrass, completely underrated. The fans absolutely love him. He gives 110% every week. He's just going to find it difficult to break into the team, when Jarrod Bowen's sort of playing in his natural position. He has moved into centre mid as well, and his delivery from dead balls, set pieces and free kicks, is unbelievable. And he's like a Mark Noble for us. He gives absolutely everything when he's on the pitch. Manuel Lanzini obviously was again highly rated when he first came over. Had such a good partnership with Dimitri Payet, and then unfortunately tore his ACL while away on Argentinian duty. Came back, and again, unfortunately, never been the same since. Obviously, that's probably one of the worst injuries as a player that you can, have to recover from. And I think when he came back, he didn't have a pre-season, and he was kind of thrown in at the deep end, and his confidence went, and he lost that sharp first step. However, though, the first few weeks of the season, this season, he's actually looked really good, and he was one of our standout players against Charlton, albeit Charlton the other night. And then Felipe Anderson, I genuinely don't know. The first 6 months he was at West Ham, he was one of the best players in the league, I thought. Goals, assists. He looked, like a Payet mould, exhilarating, that will get the fans off their seats. And I think a lot of us fans have put it down to the fact that he's had to spend a lot of time covering that left back spot. I think a season ago he was one of the most he had the most tackles or something as a player in the Premier League, because he was constantly having to cover Cresswell and Masuaku, and he wasn't able to get forward as much and create as much as we know he can do. So we're sort of saying, well, look, if we get another left back, will that improve him? So I guess we're hoping for. But one of the main things that the Lazio fans said to us when we signed him was, be careful, because he does blow very hot and very cold. Unfortunately, this cold spell has gone on for what is almost a year and a half now. I think he scored the other night, and that's his second goal for us. He's had 2 goals in about 18 months or something daft. It's been, so far and few between.
Yeah.
Shout out to Rebecca, and you say Charlie, right?
Yes, that's Charlie. This is Rebecca as well. She's also does videos for Hammers Chat.
Thank you to them for coming on. So just before I get into the actual game, Tom, how many players do you? I saw someone writing you haven't signed anyone at all.
Yeah, we've signed. Wow. We signed Thomas Souček, who was on loan with us last year, so we're not really counting that. But yeah, we haven't signed anybody. It was interesting actually, because on the press release for the Diangana sale on the website said, unfortunately, we've had to let Diangana go, but we're going to be reinvesting that money into the squad. That was 3 weeks ago, and we've still not seen any movement of signings. So
how many players do you think you should sign, and which players specifically would you let go of?
What size squads are there in the Premier League? What, 24, 25? Yeah. There's a lot of players I'd let go. I'm not going to sit here and name all of them, because I just think there's such the toxic spine running through the team at the minute. But I think if I was pushed to sell players, both of our left backs, our right back Ryan Fredericks, the backup right back Ben Johnson looks very promising. Obviously, we got rid of Ngakia to Watford, which the fans weren't happy about, because again he looked promising. The centre backs, Diop, again bought for a big fee. Supposedly, we still think he's worth a big fee, but he's been rubbish the last 18 months. Balbuena, another centre half, again not up to the races. I know Charlie's not going to like it because of the Balbuena slander, because he rates him. But yeah, there's too many bad eggs, I would say, in this team. I think that I think we need a summer overhaul, and unfortunately, I think the Declan Rice money is probably going to end up having to pay for that.
Well, the thing is, we're when it comes to transfers, we're all. I mean, our fans are crazy about transfers as well. We want everything. We want everything done in a day. I don't think people really understand how transfers work. It's a very complicated process that comes to light and is explained a lot better in these documentaries that have been going on lately. Like Sunderland Till I Die. You saw a lot behind the scenes how things work, and now with the latest Tottenham one, All or Nothing with Tottenham, really shows how transfers work. It's a complicated process. I mean, especially with the top players. If you're going for the top players, everyone thinks it's just your club involved. It's not. You've got probably literally 10 clubs involved in wanting them, and it's such a complicated process involved where you've got four parties who need to agree, right? You've got the selling club, the buying club, you've got the agent of the player, and of course the player and his family. The family is important as well. What they want. So there's just so much more involved than what people think, and it takes a long, long time to get through negotiations, because clubs, when they're talking to multiple clubs, they're not always going to get back to people the same day or the next day. Things take time, and this is what people don't understand. And with us, we want everything done now. Of course, we want this Aouar from Lyon, we want Partey from Atletico Madrid, and we want it all done now at this moment. But listen, there's still nearly a month left of it's a good 3 weeks, nearly 4 weeks left of the transfer window. These things take time, and that's, I think, what people have to respect. And I think the same goes for you guys as well. I can understand you guys are very impatient because nothing's happened, and a top lad has said you guys are still the only club basically that hasn't signed anyone. I can understand the impatience must be getting to real high level, but you still got 3-4 weeks left. I think you guys will do do some business, you know. And I just hope it's gonna be some good business. And if you guys do have to get rid of Declan Rice, which I hope for your sakes you don't, of course, he's a key player for you. But if you could get rid of him, you're probably going to get at least 40 to 50 million for him, at least.
Yeah.
And you can reinvest. You can definitely reinvest some of that money into the squad. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into the actual game now. Tom, what are your expectations for this game? Of course, you just lost to Newcastle. Did you expect to beat Newcastle?
I don't think as West Ham fans, we don't expect to beat anybody. But I think we expected. The main thing for us was Thomas Souček. He really is our engine in midfield. He's the one that sort of helps make that midfield tick. And we thought he was going to be out with the COVID because I think he had travelled with the national team and we weren't sure if he was going to be available. He ended up being available and we thought it would sort of help us. We really relied on him at the back end of last season. But unfortunately, we just were not clinical enough and our midfield didn't run the show. It was Newcastle and their new signings that did. I think we are really seriously going to struggle against Arsenal this weekend. I think there's just so many sort of different facets that Arsenal have, different areas to attack you, whether it be down the left, down the right, fast players, good midfield. Yeah, I think it's especially because we haven't addressed our fullback situations, and if you've got Aubameyang coming down one side and, Nicola Pepe or Willian the other side, it's just going to be absolute hell on earth for our fullbacks this weekend.
Yes, definitely Tom is not looking forward to the game. And here's a couple of stats. In the last 13 years, West Ham have only beaten us twice, yeah. There's a time they beat us 3 games in a row between 2006 and 2007, but since they only beat us in the opening game of the 2015 season, and the last time where Rice scored, I think it was 2018. And also, David Moyes has never beaten Arsenal away from home, whether he was at Sunderland, West Ham. I think it's like 16 games, 12 losses and 4 draws. So, Sam, you might as well give us your thoughts on this one. A win? Everything is pointed out to a West Ham 3-1 win, right?
I think I don't think West Ham are going to win this one. Unfortunately, no. I think it's going to be an Arsenal victory. And I'm not. I don't. It's not a matter of any disrespect for West Ham or anything. It's just the fact that. It's just the fact that your team is just not good enough at this moment. They're just not good enough. Coming to the Emirates, even though there's no fans and everything, it's going to be difficult for you guys. Listen, the one thing that will be in your a positive for you guys. I know it doesn't sound like a positive, but if you guys sit deep and defend, that will make life more difficult for us because that is at the moment that is what we struggle with. We struggle with teams who lie deep and defend, sit deep and defend, because our tactics are more better suited to teams that press us a bit higher or, at least try and attack us a bit. So if Moyes decides to sit deep and defend, I think you will make things a lot more difficult for us, which is a positive for you guys. So if Moyes decides to do that and decides to do that and you guys decide to sit deep, I can't really see us scoring many goals, to be honest. I think we'll win, but I think it'll be like a 2-0 if that happens. Maybe a 2-1 if you guys manage to score a goal. So I'm thinking if Moyes decides to sit deep, then I'm thinking it's going to be 2-0. I'm not thinking everyone's going 4-0, 5-0, 6-0. I don't see that happening because if Moyes, I think Moyes is going to come to the Emirates and sit deep and ask, tell Arsenal, listen, you're going to have to, if you want to win, you're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to break us down. I think that's what he's going to look for and maybe try to counter attack here and there where he can. But because that's what I can ask you, Tom. I mean, you know Moyes and the tactics, what you guys have been playing better than me lately. Yeah. Do you reckon you'll come and try and sit deep, or do you reckon you're going to try and come and attack us a bit?
This is our main issue, is that Moyes probably will park the bus for a lot of it. But when we do break out, I fear that Sebastian Haller, if he's the one that starts, will be too isolated up top. I think that he'll have a hell of a job going up against Gabriel, who looks fantastic against Fulham the other day.
He's a beast. He's a beast.
The real centre half that you guys have been looking for, and I think that he's got a big big game on his hand against Allaire and in that isolation, unfortunately. But the main problem for us is that when we look to try and counter teams and then they end up sort of countering us back off the attack after our attack is wasted, we get split apart so easily. And that for me is the massive worry, is that if Fredericks, who likes to go forward, he does have the pace, but he allows his man in behind so many times. And Cresswell, it always makes me laugh. Last season, Aaron Cresswell, was it a season and a half ago, Adama Traore was breaking through for Wolves, and Cresswell tried to trip him up to stop him and couldn't, because he was so fast for him. The only way he thought he was going to get him by was by tripping him up. So if we have to go against that pace for 90 minutes, I think it's, any time that we look to go forward, Arsenal should be easily unlock it.
So that's where I think we might be able to score. Maybe when you guys go forward a bit, we could maybe counter attack you or get in behind. But if you guys decide to sit deep as your tactic, and you basically, like you say, park the bus and ask us to break you down, that is going to be difficult for us, because that is, at the moment, that is our Achilles heel. We're very, very good at counter-attacking. We're very, very good at teams pressing us and trying to attack us, because we can go toe-to-toe and get the ball behind anyone. But if you're sitting low with two banks of defending players, you got your defence and a low bank of five midfielders, it's going to be very tough for us to break you down. It's going to basically we have to get the best out of our players to do it. And that's why I'm saying I don't think it's going to be as easier for us as so many Arsenal fans are saying. I still think we'll win, but I just don't think it's definitely not going to be, I don't think, like a 4 or 5-0 or even a 3-0, to be honest. I think best case scenario tomorrow is a 2-0. That's what I think.
I agree with Sam. West Ham actually have good players, like I think Isgan, as I said in the comment section, Felipe Anderson, Yamalenko. These are players who can give us trouble, and it's always typical Arsenal.
We're also quite weak on set pieces, I would say defending set pieces. If West Ham get in a good corner or a good free kick, they could score a goal.
And the last time they beat us at the Emirates Stadium, I think they scored with 2 set pieces. And last season, I think Tom would remember, against Chelsea, Soucek really troubled Chelsea's defense in terms of corners. So what's your prediction for the game, Tom? Or just before I get into that, can you give me your lineup? What would be a starting lineup for the game?
I think for us it will be Fabianski in goal, Ryan Fredericks at right back, Issa Diop and Angelo Bonner at centre half, Aaron Cresswell at left back, and then midfield. I think it will be. I would expect him to go Mark Noble, Soucek and Rice, and then Jarrod Bowen on the right-hand side. I hope, for our sake, Felipe Anderson on the left-hand side, or that could be Mikel Antonio, because he didn't play midweek, and I think he'll go with Sebastian Allaire up top. So it should be a 4-3-3 with sort of Declan Rice holding in front of the back four, or he could look to go 4-4-2 with Antonio and Allaire up top, and Rice and maybe Soucek or Rice and Noble in midfield. But at the minute, we seem to be playing with those 3 midfielders and sort of the 3-2 wide men and a lone striker up top. And I think it will be. Sorry, go on.
Just before I get into the Arsenal lineup, what really happened? Because last season he really ended the season well, if I'm not wrong, beating Norwich, beating Chelsea, and it's the same players. So what went wrong? Antonio's firing in goals.
I don't know. I think it's. I know Rebecca put a comment up there earlier. The big thing for us was that David Moyes had such a good end to last season. Antonio was on song. He was scoring freely every single week. The players were really starting to buy into what David Moyes was trying to do. We saw after Declan Rice scored against, I think it was Watford, long-range worldie. He ran over and he hugged Moyes, and all the players seemed to be finally buying into hopefully what he was trying to do. And this summer was the time to back the manager and give him those players and allow him to try to succeed at the club, and we didn't do that. And unfortunately, I think last week, as again Rebecca's put in the chat, we started the first game with exactly the same lineup as the team that played against Aston Villa last season, and that we would say is a team that was trying to stop us from getting relegated. It was a team that was put there to try to save us last season, not a team now that should be hopefully trying to compete and win games. So yeah, unfortunately for us, it's just a lot of square pegs in round holes. He didn't back the manager, and we're paying for it now, I think.
is Ghana's asked, who do you think is more vital, Antonio or Haller?
It's a great question because on the one hand, Haller offers something different. I think he's such a versatile big man. He can hold the ball up well. He can really back into big defenders, hold the ball up for his teammates, try to sort of he's a great passing big man as well. One of the big issues you'll have, and again, I think you've got a great young left back in Kieran Tierney if he plays, but Jarrod Bowen loves to get inside his fullbacks and get in behind. And Haller has already proved last season a couple of times that when they're on the same, singing off the same hymn sheet, that if Bowen can make that run in behind, Haller can usually try to find him. So for me right now, probably if it was last season, I'd have said Antonio because he was scoring his goals. But I really think that Haller will hopefully start to show his worth for us because I think he's such a good player. I just don't think we've played to his style and as effective because we saw how many goals that him, Luka Jovic and Rebic scored for Frankfurt a season or so, or a couple of seasons ago now. So yeah, I'd say Haller at this current time, but obviously last season Antonio. And I love Antonio. He's a workhorse. He gives his all for 90 minutes. Even if he doesn't end up scoring or if he doesn't end up, being involved in the game as much as we'd like, he never stops running for us. So yeah.
Yes, these guys are really convincing me that you're going to get 6 to 7 goals. So which lineup are you actually going to start to get those 7 goals for us? Because I don't want El Neni in the middle.
Well, I think El Neni did well against Fulham, to be honest. I think he plays very well in that deep lying role. I think he links up very well with the defence. He's good at passing the ball in transition to the likes of whether it would be Xhaka or maybe Ceballos. I don't know. It'll be difficult to say because I don't know now. He might change the lineup a little bit depending on who's fully fit, who's maybe someone now is fully ready to come in. He might change the lineup a little bit. I'm expecting we're going to see a lot of the same though. I'm thinking we're probably going to see pretty much the same back three because I don't think Luiz is going to be fit for a while. So I think we're going to see pretty much the same back three. Tierney did well there in that left centre back role because he can slide out left and help in the left back position as well because he's so good at that. And then on the left side, whether he goes with Maitland-Niles or Saka, I don't know because Maitland-Niles is like a slightly more defensive option. At the same time, he's still good at pushing forward. So I would personally like to see Saka given the chance out left because he can then add that extra dimension going forwards down the left wing, link up with Aubameyang. I think the front three, we're going to see the same. I think we're going to see Willian play again because he had such a great debut. I don't see, unless there's some niggling injury there or some reason for dropping him, I can't see that he will. I think he'll keep his starting position because he played so well. And to the midfield, maybe he'll drop El Neni even though he did well. Maybe he'll just go back now that Ceballos. I think Ceballos is now like fully fit, fully ready to go. He'll probably change the central two then to he'll probably take out El Neni, put Xhaka into that position, and then Ceballos. Because we're going to want to attack more now against West Ham. We don't need to focus that much on defending. I don't think we need to focus that much on looking at the counter attack against us. So in that sense, I think we can look at a more attacking formation, and that way, like I said, I think that's why we'll probably see Ceballos come in and work with Xhaka because Ceballos is more attack minded. He'll run more with the ball and. He's more of an attack-minded player than what Xhaka is in that position. So I think the only two changes I think we'll see then, I think maybe we'll see Saka out left instead of Maitland-Niles, and we'll see hopefully Ceballos come in for El Neni. So Xhaka will go to that more deep-lying role, and then we'll have Ceballos in the more advanced role in midfield, and then everyone else will be the same. Bellerin outright. It'll be Gabriel, Holding, Tierney, the back three. Like I said, Maitland-Niles out left, and then the front three will be Aubameyang out left. He'll probably score 1 or 2 goals. I got him as a captain on my fantasy team, and then you've got Lacazette, I think Lacazette's gonna stay. I don't think he's gonna put in Nketiah. I think he's gonna stay with Lacazette, and then right side Willian basically, who can switch in and out as well. So Willian did really well. He's gonna keep with him, I think.
Yeah, I'm seeing Charlie. I'm seeing Cookie. Sorry, Tom. Everyone else is saying play Pepe because he gave Cresswell the run around last season.
Pepe's faster and more technical. But listen, Willian did really well, and he's just as technical as Pepe. I mean,
I think it's I don't think you change a winning team, especially how well you performed against Fulham. But I think Mikel Arteta will be absolutely licking his chops, and I'd expect most of your problems to come from Willian down that right hand side. But I do remember that Pepe caused us all sorts of problems at the London Stadium last season.
Well, he's so tricky. He's tricky, and he's got pace.
Exactly. I think you'll have lots of success coming down our sort of left-hand side with Cresswell. I think if that's where you're going to get some space to get in the crosses to make something happen, I think it's there.
I think maybe you could see Pepe come on in the second half, and then he'll cause all kinds of havoc. Then probably if he comes on in the second half, I just don't think he's going to. I don't know. Maybe he'll say, "Listen, Pepe, here's a chance to impress us." But that would be so hard on Willian, I think, because Willian had such a great debut game. So I can't really see Willian being dropped, to be honest. What do you reckon?
Good point you made. For me, Pepe, yes, he did well last season. By the way, Tom, Cresswell should have been sent off in that last season's game. I still remember that. For me, I would drop El Neni, just not because he did badly, but because I want more attacking. I want Sebastian. I want more attacking power.
Yeah.
If there's a way we can fit Pepe, Willian, Aubameyang, and Lacazette in the team, then we can score those 5 goals people are talking about. So just before I get to the final questions, definitely I knew Tom was going to rant a bit about about West Ham and extend this to more than 1 hour, but it's okay. Thanks to everyone who's joined the chat. So what's your prediction, Tom?
I think it'll be 3-1. I'll give us the credit of getting our first goal of the season, but I just like I said, I think that whatever front three that it is you play, their pace, their technical, their finishing ability, I just think that we're in for a long day, and it wouldn't surprise me. I might even triple captain Aubameyang in my team this weekend, because I think Aubameyang will get a couple of goals this weekend.
He's in form. So yeah.
And he just got that new bumper deal as well for you guys, so he's got every reason to be, playing happy, scoring goals, and I think if he wants as many goals as he wants this season, it'll come against us. So yeah, I think it'll be 3-1. I think I'll give us the credit of saying that maybe either Jarrod Bowen or Allaire will get on the score sheet, but I just think, unfortunately for us at the minute, Arsenal just have far too much for us, and I think Mikel Arteta, I'm not that kind of a fan that myself and Charlie, when we do the watch-alongs on Hammers Chat, we get loads of people that will come in and say, "Oh, which teams do you hate? Do you hate Arsenal? Oh, you must hate Chelsea, you must hate Spurs." And I love watching football. It's been my passion since I was a kid. I'm 25 now, and whatnot. But you love to see when a manager like Arteta, the Pep Guardiolas and stuff, play good football. And I think watching Arsenal this season will be exactly that. So I'm looking forward to the game. Even if we do take a drubbing, I'm fully expecting it. But I think it will be nice to see, hopefully both sets of teams play nice football. But I think you guys, unfortunately, just going to have too much for us. So I'm going to say 3-1.
Sam?
Yeah, again, it's. I think Arsenal's going to win. I think that's pretty much nailed on, to be honest. But the thing is, with the result, it depends on how defensive West Ham want to play. Because I really think we're going to. If they play really defensive, I think we're going to struggle to score more than a couple of goals, just because that is our problem against a deep lying team. We just. We struggle to create a lot of chances then. So for me, I don't think we're going to see a high-scoring game. I'm going to have to go. I think I'm going to stick with my original thought, and that's 2-0. I don't really see West Ham scoring, apart from they might score on a set piece. I just don't really see anyone breaking down our defence and scoring. They could do, of course, but I just don't really see it happening. Maybe on a set piece, like I said. And then with West Ham lying deep and being really, giving a good effort and giving us a hard time off the ball. I can see us. Yeah, we're gonna struggle to score goals. So yeah, I'm gonna go for 2-0 was my initial thought, and I'm gonna stick to it.
I'm going to go with Tom. I think they'll score this time round. There's only so many clean sheets Arsenal can keep. You can never trust Arsenal defense. Even if you keep 30 clean sheets,
I know, but I'm just thinking, that West Ham defensive, Harlow, I mean, bless him, he's not the most electric forward, is he? I just see their threat coming more from a set piece, to be honest. But listen, yeah, of course they could score. Of course, our defense doesn't have a great record. It doesn't.
Yeah. Okay. Last few questions. Let me start with Tom. Those are your fixtures.
I have to pull that up.
How many points are you going to pick up from those games?
Yeah, for those in the chat wondering, that's our next 7 games. I'd like to see us, if anybody, get a point against Spurs, because for some reason we always, tend to at least try and pick something up against Spurs. I think it's the best thing that Arsenal West Ham fans have in common, really. But no, if I'm looking realistically, Wolves at home probably, I think, is or Leicester away is obviously where we're going to be looking to get a point. So I mean, one or 2 points out of those 2 games, I think, is a successful start for us. But yeah, that graphic is just it's disgusting. So I fully expect us to be. I think no West Ham fan was under illusion that we were going to finish anywhere sort of other than bottom by the start of November, unfortunately. So I know you've got to play them all eventually, but when you have them one after the other like that, it's not great for confidence or morale or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, Arsenal's fixtures are not that better, Sam. I think we have City, United, Sheffield, Wolves in the next 6. Do you expect us to win?
We've got Liverpool next, haven't we? We've got Liverpool at Anfield after West Ham, haven't we? So yeah, that's always a difficult fixture for us. I think it's going to be a real good test for us.
Is it a case of we have to pick up 3 points here because of the next games?
Yes, I think so. I think 3 points. We have to pick up 3 points against West Ham. Start with 6 points now, because I think going to Anfield, anything can happen. I think we can lose that game. So we just need to pick up the points where we can.
Yeah. Tom, I wanted to ask you about this flag. I just realized that you guys changed the flag or something, the logo.
Yeah, we've got a new one.
What do you think of? Is it because of Sullivan?
Yeah, if there's a clip going around on Twitter, you can see it where they basically highlight everything that the board have done wrong in the last sort of 10 years of tenure. This was one of the funniest things, because a reporter asked Sullivan, what do you think about teams changing the names or the colours? I think this is when Alam at Hull was trying to change them to Hull Tigers. And he said, I quote, it's ridiculous, really. It would be like us naming West Ham London. Fast forward a few years, we moved to London Stadium, and all of a sudden we've got London on our badge. So yeah, this season is a new one though, because it's our 125th year. So it's a little, I guess you could say, homage, but it's not really. But yeah, I think the fact that David Sullivan had the cheek to say it would be like us naming West Ham London, and that it was ridiculous, and now it's on the badge, it's just a bit of another kick in the teeth from the owners.
Yeah. Last question for both of you. Which, if you were to sign just one player, Tom, who would you try and get this sort of transfer window? Just one player.
From Arsenal, or just in general, anywhere?
In general.
I was going to say, can I go stupid and be like, oh yeah, Reguilon, who's off to Spurs, we'll have him at left back. I'll say Rico Henry from Brentford. We've been linked with him this summer. Left back's a position that we need upgrading. He had a good game against us when they came and played us in the famed Betway Cup a few weeks ago. So yeah, I'd have loved Jamal Lewis. I'd have loved Anthony Robinson that went. I'd have loved even Matty Cash that went to Villa. All players that we've been looked to sign. But yeah, I think the best sort of option for us, because there's no way we're going to get James Tarkowski. They've made it clear, but apparently we just want to keep going in for stupid bids. So I'll say realistically for us, Rico Henry would probably be an instant upgrade for us at left back.
Sam, Messi.
Yeah. What are you saying? What was the question? Sorry, pick any player? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just one player that you can sign, one player that you want to join Arsenal.
Okay.
I should just have Messi as well, wouldn't it? Because
Messi. See, Messi is a great player, but it's just all that off the field stuff that just puts me off. All the noise and the buzz that comes with him. I would say right now for us, I would love us to have a player like. I'd love to bring in a Thomas Partey, to be honest, because I just think he would suit our team so well. And he just gives us exactly what we need in midfield, that deep lying, ball winning, and also quite creative player. I think he would just suit us so good. I'd love to see a Thomas Partey come in. If I could pick anyone right now for our team right now, I would definitely pick him.
I'll tell you what though, someone I've watched the last couple of seasons in the Champions League, I really would love to see Aouar in the Prem, even if it is for you guys. I think he is so gifted and so talented at such a young age, and I think he'd be, and obviously like Partey would be an instant upgrade in your midfield. I just think Hassam Aouar is going to go on to bigger things. I think if he doesn't
big player, yeah.
I can sense Man United or someone like that all over him. If you guys went to try and snap him up, but I think he's an instant just upgrade for you guys straight away.
Can this guy see it though?
He cares more about his NFL team. He cares more about his NFL team.
We have to sell players. That's the thing. We're gonna have to sell players. Get rid of some players before we can bring in Aouar and Partey. That's the thing. We have to get rid of some players now. But for me, I agree. Aouar is a great player, but of course, he would be an upgrade. He would do a lot to our midfield. But I think we need to look more at the protective side. Yeah, the protective side of our midfield that's been lacking for so long, and I think that's why I'll just go ahead with Partey there.
I think Ceballos is sort of in that same sort of mould as Aouar, and that's sort of the only caveat is that you kind of have that creative midfielder almost in Ceballos for another season.
Karim
does do the same thing.
Karim says Benrahma from Brentford. Isgana says Aouar. Cookie says Aouar, so I think they agree with you, Tom. I'd also say Aouar because we really need a midfield. I would have gone for Doucouré. I don't know why they didn't go for him, but Aouar is the only one remaining. But anyway,
Doucouré managed to go to Everton managed to buy him, didn't they? Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming on. Tom, where can they follow you? I've put your Twitter down there, but on YouTube.
At Athos32 for my personal on Twitter, but do go over and join us on Hammers Chat. We do, as I said, we try to remain impartial as possible, but it's a really good channel, really good hosts as always on there with you and Gonzo, and it's always a good watch. And you can join myself and a top lad who's in the comments there, Charlie. We do the weekly watch alongs, all the fans that come in. So unfortunately, I think the pair of us will be sat, and I know a lot of our mates, because we're both from down south, are from London and Essex and stuff. So we'll be getting ribbed by our Arsenal mates, I'm sure, at the weekend. So come and join us. It'll be some fun.
How about you, Sam? You also have a channel?
Yeah, Sam Greenwood TV. Check it out, guys. Subscribe. Would be greatly appreciated. It's a very small channel, but I'm trying to build it up slowly. I mainly just do like Arsenal chats, late evening chats about what's been going on at Arsenal lately. Mainly Arsenal related, football in general related, and I do some quizzes as well now and again, which is a laugh. Arsenal or football, general football related quizzes, and but most of the time I'm on these other guys' channels doing watch-alongs and reviews and previews and stuff. It's good fun, and. Just want to say thanks again for having me on. It's been a real pleasure. It's been a real pleasure to meet Tom and see your guys there in the chat there. I'm going to check out your channel, have a look. It's been good fun, and thanks for having me, Glenn. Again, it's been really good.
Always a pleasure, and thanks to Tom for coming on. Keep doing your stuff on Hammers Chat. That's the channel. You can go and subscribe to them. I wish you all the best for the season. I really wish I could have given you 3 points for this game, but we can't. So good luck for the rest of the season.
I'll have to come back and do the return fixture just to see how our seasons went, because obviously we play a bit further on in the season. Might have to do the return one as well. But no, thank you very much for having me. It's been good fun. It's always, even though it's depressing to hear how successful other teams are or which big money players they're signing, it's nice to talk to opposition fans. So no, thank you very much for having me on.
No problem, and thanks to everyone in the chat. Charlie, Rebecca, Cookie, Luiz, RK Sweetie, East Gunners, and I can't mention you all, but thank you very much for watching. And that was the preview for Arsenal West Ham. The game will be played at 8 p.m. UK time on Saturday, the final game on Saturday. Thanks for watching, everyone. Keep staying safe, and I'll catch up with you guys later.